Hi and welcome to my podcast. My name is Ali Hart and you are listening to Build a Creative Business in a Noisy World. But for the next while, we are delving deeper into something that I'm really passionate about, and that is learning how to love ourselves from our brain to our very bones. I have different experts joining me from the wellbeing industry, and I really hope you can join me on this journey as we dig a little deeper to learn about ourselves, but also just to realize that life is to be lived, and how can we reach that capacity by doing internal work, external work, and all of the above. I really hope you enjoy the episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode in From the Inside Out. We have Bron Gallagher here today, who is a PT and who is also the head trainer at Bayburn Fitness, which I have talked about in the last few sessions with different people. So, hi Bron, it's lovely to have you.
Hello, Ali. How are you? You all right?
Good. As he was just saying before, this is my world now. I have you here. You can't shout at me, and I even started on time.
Good. I don't like these sort of things, but we'll get after it. It's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, I guess a lot of what I do in my business is lead with the heart, and whenever I started the classes, I only started like 5 weeks ago. Yourself and Ali Scott, isn't it Ali Scott? Ali?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. It's like, I guess there's different trainers in this environment of Bayburn, and this isn't to talk about Bayburn necessarily today, but that is how I first met you. And it's like, just sometimes you get this feeling that people are like just meant to do the job they're doing. So I kind of headhunted you and said, can you please come on? But do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I definitely think you're very cool, and it's very good to have you.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really enjoy training people, and it's something that I've found over the last, couple of years especially, has been one of the best things that's happened. I've been doing this a long time, off and on, in various forms and iterations over the course of the years. It started, years ago, as we all did, playing sports growing up and getting involved in sort of fitness that way. And then when I went into the US Army, I was working as a fitness trainer in the US Army for a while, back in the earlier days when I was a little bit younger. And that was a whole different world that opened up a lot of things. And then also I decided to get my personal training license when I lived in Los Angeles and worked out in commercial gyms for a long time in Los Angeles. And then over the past, what's it been, 2 years now, I guess, with the pandemic and everything that's sort of changed, it sort of refocused my life and sort of idea of what I wanted to do for people and what I really enjoyed. And I mean, the one thing that we've learned especially is that, our health is the only thing we can really control right now. And it's, something that I feel really strongly about, to be able to share that sort of knowledge and that sort of desire to try and get people to be as healthy and as fit and as strong and as ready for what lies ahead, because, we only get one shot at this, so we might as well, make the most.
Absolutely. And one of the things I had shared with Michael, my husband, was you'd put up, you're always quite entertaining during classes. And I've never really been very good at sticking with classes because I feel like I love fitness and I'm happy to go my own road. But one of the things you'd often talk about is like, just turn up anyway, even if you've had your gin or you've been off the diet type thing. As in keep showing up is what I mean, which we can come back to in a minute. But I was going to say, you're obviously not from here.
No, ma'am. No, I am not. I'm originally from the East Coast in the US. Okay. My family's from Massachusetts, and I grew up or spent my formative years in Maryland, which, if we're looking on a map, is middle right for some people over here. Yeah. And then I've spent before moving back here, I was in Los Angeles for almost 15 years. Working as both a personal trainer in the bar industry, and then I was also an actor as well, and I still do a bit of acting on the side when things come up.
And your wife is from Northern Ireland?
Yes, my wife is originally from here, and like all good Northern Irish women, they bring everybody home so that they can be close to their mothers, and that's just the nature of the beast. I took her out there for a long time, and it was lovely. It was a great, we had a really great great time. But the sort of priorities change as you start to get a little bit older, and we've got a little 8-year-old boy now, and the world sort of shifts a little bit with regards to what becomes important. And right now, the biggest thing is to watch him be, healthy and happy, and to grow up in the best sort of environment that he can at the minute. And we want to try and do the best for him. And it's a little bit easier over here sometimes than it was in Los Angeles.
It's a good lifestyle for kids. So tell me then about the being in the army. Then you were a trainer there.
I was doing a lot of things. Yeah, you go into the army when you're not quite ready to go to university, because you're probably a little too silly and would have wasted it, especially over in America where you have to pay a whole lot of money for it. So at 18, I needed a little bit of a chance to grow up, perhaps is the right way of putting it. So I went off and did 4 years in the U.S. Army. I was a bodyguard for a priest. And at the same time, I was working as a fitness trainer, where it was a lot of different things back then. We were always working about trying to see how heavy we could get and how much weight we could lift, and taking people in who were looking to shift their weight, not necessarily into the fittest format they possibly could, but more into what we could push on a bar and how heavy we could get and that sort of stuff. And at the same time, doing morning physical training sessions that we were doing. I was leading those for our company, and for the battalions at times over the course of those, probably the last 2 years that I was in the army.
So you said you met your wife in Germany, isn't that right? So I take it you traveled loads.
Yes, I did. I did a year and a half in Louisiana, and then originally grew up in the army. So I've been around to a few different places around the world. And then I met my wife in Germany when I was stationed over there, and she was working in an Irish pub, you do. And then the fair there carries on, because for some reason she's decided to stick it out with me for this long. So I am extremely grateful for that.
And what would you say then, so obviously fitness, well-being, well, I feel like it just runs deeper than the physical, like, aesthetics of that. Like you're saying about, years ago when they were lifting bars, like what would you say is the fitness industry? Are we breaking up? What have been the changes?
No, I got you again.
Do you want me to ask it again?
Well, I think the big thing now is that, and this has been, solidified by the last couple of years, you keep going back to how the world has changed so much in regards to people's mentality about fitness has changed. We have to be able to look after not only ourselves, but the thing that I'm most important about is obviously being able to look after my kid and to look after my wife now going on. And sort of the way that fitness has changed is we want to be able to function and be strong, not for just today, but for, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. I tell clients all the time that, you don't want to be the one who has to go out and ask somebody to fit a handle next to your toilet. You don't want to get to that position in your life. And the only way that's going to happen is if you're doing it now. There's the thing that I look about it is like my fitness grounds me. It anchors me for the day. I need it for both my mental health as well as my physical health, because that's my time. And when I go out training people, I hope that that's the same for them. That's your time to really focus on yourself, to, clear your mind of all the other distractions, all the other stuff that we have going on, and to give yourself that, 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, where you're looking after the one body you got to get through this life, and it's how do we make that body work as well as we can for whatever position, whatever point in life that we're in at the moment, regardless of injury or past experience or anything that you have going on. It's what can you do the best for yourself now? And I think that's the most important thing that we can do. I really do.
And what would you say to someone who is maybe listening and is maybe not in the best shape of their life, and they're like, I don't even know where to start? Like, what would be obviously one-to-one PT sessions if they're in Northern Ireland with you, but apart from that, what would you like?
I always say with my students when I'm teaching them art, or even when I'm mentoring, you just got to start, just make a mark and start. What would be your advice?
Same thing. It's 100%. You have to just decide, right? Today I'm gonna give it a go.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I'm gonna give it a go. And then if you don't give it a go that third day, start again. Today I'm gonna give it a go. I mean, right now there's so many resources that are available. There's so many people you can find either on YouTube or Instagram or, across all these levels of media that you can get at. And even if you just want to ask a question, just ask that question to get somebody to interact or to find something that works for you, be it yoga or strength training or Pilates or anything, walking. Take a friend and go out for a walk. Anything to get the body moving, to get started is I mean, you have to. You have to. I see it as something that has to be done as part of both. It's not just physical. It really is that mental well-being, that whole overall sense of of working for yourself.
Yeah, I listened to Rangan Chatterjee's podcast, and he's a doctor, and he does these little bite size on a Friday. And last week's one, which I only listened to on Sunday, was from a professor who's in his 80s now, but he has been studying how people live the longest and and one of the things they talked about was obviously social. So having friends that you will actually be active with, which I thought was really interesting. So it was saying, like, these people, even if it's just walking, it's like a community feel about it. Do you see that now as well? I think that with Bayburn, certainly, community, or like, how do you feel about people, not necessarily in a competitive way, like together, encouraging each other?
Well, I think it's key. I mean, for Bayburn, not to talk about it specifically, but how great it has been for both myself and, as we've seen, for the clients, is that sense of, finding somebody who's sharing those interests with yourself. It may not be all of your same interests, it may not be everything, but just that one little section, even like, let's try and be a little bit better today together than we were yesterday apart. Let's try and bring that in, and let's try and work on that. And Bayburn, one of the big things we look at is the classes become more than just classes. People start to socialize together. They know about each other's lives. They interact a little bit more. And even if it's not coming into Bayburn or coming into a specific class, find your friends or find somebody out on the road or find somebody out walking. I mean, we're lucky enough around here with all the sort of the paths and the coastal path and everything up and down the road. And you see people over the course of lockdowns, how many people you could see out on the coastal path walking together and just spending that time, sharing that space, working together for a collective goal as opposed to individually for their own goal. And I think it makes a huge amount for accountability.
And what would you say on well-being? So you're talking about, like, for you, it's mental well-being and physical well-being. Is there a time that you maybe struggled mentally, or like whenever you were, not mentally, but like internally, that you found exercise brought everything back in line, like?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Yeah. Every day is, I mean, not every day is going to feel like a good day where you want to get up and, or you want to get up and do something. You're not going to have that motivation every day, but it becomes a learned sort of a learned habit over the course of time, the more that you do it. And there's times where, you might feel just awful about it. But I mean, for myself, or, and I try to tell this to clients too, if you make that step to actually start, to either get to that class or to start that workout, then you've done 90% of the job, because everything else, all you have to do is finish. All you have to do is start. And then the rest of it will come and you'll finish it. And by the end of it, 10, 15 minutes later, once the endorphins are kicked in, once you stop yelling at me, once you stop being upset about how much it hurts, once you stop feeling that little bit of pain, afterwards your endorphins go through the roof, and all of a sudden everything feels a little bit easier to sort of to maintain and to manage, because you realize that what you're capable of is a lot more sometimes than we think. And I think people get trapped in their own heads with regards to some things. And I think that this sort of physical activity allows you to realize that. A perfect example today, one of my girls was just like, I can't do this. And, you don't know if you don't try, so try it first and then tell me you can't. But then she looked at me afterwards and she was like, oh, I can't do this. So just got to try, just try. And you'd be amazed at what you can do and amazed at how good it makes you feel throughout the day.
So just because I love fitness, etc. But let's go from the soft, just start somewhere to the nitty gritty. What's diet like for you? Like, how do you meal plan? Like, because obviously you're strong, in good physical shape. You're not like like my Michael is now doing classes with Ian. I think I sent you Ian Young's online class with him. And Michael's always been a field hockey player all his life. So he played Irish field hockey and blah, blah. So he's always been like strong legs, but mostly just because he's always using them, and then upper body. So anyway, we really made, intentionally through May and June, we had a wedding to go to in July, and we knew we were going to be the older people there because everyone was like late 20s, early 30s. So we were like, we're going to get in really good shape, and food was a massive part of it. So Michael was like, I can't believe I'm getting like muscles. And we were really intentional about protein and about just leaner, just everything being leaner. What views have you on that, or what?
I mean, everybody has their slip-ups, and I don't consider food to be good or bad. I consider food to be what works for the results that you want.
Okay.
I mean, the baseline goal, I would always say, is try and eat real food.
Real food.
That's the simplest, easiest way of going about it. Eat real food. Not try to get away from the processed stuff. Try to get away from, the ready meals if they're coming out of the shop or frozen. But have a look at that sort of things. Make sure you know what it is that you're eating. Try and look at, what is it that you want your food to do for you? If you want a quick pick me up, you're going to have that cookie. You're going to get all of a sudden wee buzz for a few minutes, but then you're going to feel 15, 20 minutes later that it's gone. So the best way to do that is to change that sort of eating habits, to try to incorporate more of that protein, to incorporate more throughout the day, to figure out what works for yourself. And I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't really get too far. My practices on it are I pay attention to what I eat for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think like everybody else, I'm not going to turn down a weekend where somebody's going to say, are we going to go out for a takeaway, or are we going to have an extra piece of cheesecake? Yeah, of course. Why not? If the cheese is on the table, we're not going to say no to the cheese.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that 80-20 mentality is a good way of looking at it. If 80% of the time you're doing the right thing, and incorporating that sort of healthy lifestyle, and incorporating a bit of fitness, incorporating whatever it is that you can do, either that resistance training or walking or running or whatever it is to be physically active, then that 20% of the time where you maybe want to, have a little treat, you shouldn't feel bad about it. You really shouldn't.
Yeah, I also love food so much. I really love food. So that is what has been a nice part of just tapping back into even just tapping into vegetarian meals and all again as well, and trying to tell my kids that if it came in a packet, because they love snacks, I love sweets, I love candy, so the kids are similar, and it's trying to tell them that the next snack, you could just take it out of the fruit bowl, because it's trying to educate as well, so that when they're not like me having to backtrack and be like, what do I need to do to change?
Well, you don't have to worry about that too much, but the big thing is it comes down to eat real food. It really does. It always comes back to that, and I try and get, we've tried to be pretty fortunate with my little boy, is to say, hey, look, the first thing you're going to reach for is not, the bag of crisps, and don't ask me for no smoky bacon crisps because you're not going to get them. So there's a fruit bowl there, or there's some fruit in the fridge. You can ask for that first. And if you go through that and you're still hungry, then we'll have a discussion. Yeah. The discussion will probably still end up with you not getting smoky bacon crisps.
Smoky bacon crisps, brilliant. Smoky bacon, cheese and onion. Yeah, it's it's hard because, well, then yesterday we're trying this week to not have candy, not have sweets until Friday. And I'm not having wine until Friday either. You can hold me to that. But I guess with me, the understanding with food is if you also make it so real food, but food that's been made in the home as well is different from me going and buying a big bag of sweets for the kids. So like yesterday, I made cupcakes for them and we decorated them. Well, they threw some sprinkles at them, but it was like the journey of food and understanding the mixing and the making. And like on a Sunday, having roasted, like I love food. So I feel like food and whole food is a great part of life as well, to be enjoyed. You said about fitness and well-being, is to be enjoyed.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. You have to. I mean, if it's something you enjoy, there's no reason for you not, well, I guess that's not entirely true across the whole spectrum. There are things you enjoy you probably shouldn't do. But when it comes to eating and good, healthy life living choices, most of those are pretty much okay to do. Food being one of them, especially. That, I mean, it's important to know where the stuff comes from. It's important to know what we're putting into the body. It's important to know how our body reacts to it to fuel ourselves for what we want to do. And teaching the new ones, especially, I mean, it was scary in America. You know, some of the stuff, and probably have seen it over here, where, you know, some of the stories of kids seeing things that they didn't know what they were because they've never seen some of that, you know, deserts of, you know, produce, because is what they were called, is because kids didn't know what these vegetables were, or they didn't know that they came from the ground. They thought they came from a can. You know, that's a scary thing, to not know that, you know, a hamburger doesn't come from some animal called a hamburg, or, you know, it from a cow, or, you know, whatever that may be. However you choose to eat, just know what it is, and to try as best you can is to make it something that is your real food, something that you know what it is and how best it works for your body. I think is one of the absolute, you know, tenets of what we can do to try and be as healthy as we can.
And it fuels the brain as well, like good food. Because I try to tell the lads, you know, when you peak and you go down. But what you were saying about food in America, and not to give general sweeping statements, but some of our best friends are from the States. I think I was maybe telling you this. So they live between Topanga and the Adirondacks and Brooklyn. So I met Stefan whenever I was 18, and every year since, we've seen each other once or twice a year. They know he's married to Courtney, but anyway, we met at this camp, and the camp is in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, and it's all like, our kids then went to it 2 years ago, and Michael worked there. So it's a camp which is like the kids sleeping in a tent, and there's no one in a tent with them. They're out like by the lake. They learn how to do pottery, the woodwork shop. Activities are, yes, there's like competitive, some team sport things, but a lot of it's survival skills on the water. But food wise, so many of these inner city kids come from New York City, and they didn't know like that chicken didn't come wrapped in a like big bit of plastic and was in the fridges. So they harvest their own chickens at camp. So it is quite like woo woo hippie, but
yes,
I love it. And I loved it. And it's part of me. And I worked there again when I was 32, and the older two came with us, but they had to be just day campers at the time. But I do think like education is such a big thing.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think you can get that from sort of, there are resources for it nowadays, but one of the big things is to seek out somebody who speaks your same vibe, who's on the same wavelength of you, and who's looking at it in the same way, you know, with what you're looking for. And don't be afraid to ask questions for people who don't know. And, you know, to just, you know, as simple as asking your butcher, or asking your friends, or asking your trainer, or asking your coach, or asking somebody who who you respect, or who you think is working in that same sort of fashion as you are, is absolutely key. I think to learn to be as healthy as we can is one of the things that we absolutely need to do.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say about movement then as well. So I had Suzanne on, who is a yoga teacher, mostly with kids. And I was telling her that, so my youngest knows a bit of yoga, but when kids don't see you practice what you preach, it's like, what would you say for someone who's thinking about their kids and getting them moving and getting them involved in physical activity, who maybe they don't? Because my kids love it. They love being outside playing. They love their bikes.
Bring them in with you, bring them in with whatever you're doing. I mean, if you have any space at home and you know, even if you're doing it off of a YouTube video, you know, get your kids involved. If you're fortunate to have a little space where you can be active in, whether it's, you know, your own little gym or your own little space that you have, be active with them, you know, take them out, walking, running, moving, get them jumping around, get them off the devices, as easy as we all know that it is to try and, you know, sometimes, you know, mommy and daddy need a little bit of space as well sometimes, but of course, to try and get them active. My little one, I mean, you know, he's not little anymore, I guess, but the big thing was always to say, look, we're fortunate. We had a treadmill in the house for quite a long time, and it just got to the point where over time, he was like, can I get on it? Can I get on it? And then he will just come in and all of a sudden he'll go, you know what? I feel like going for a run today. And he'll just jump on and he wants to go for as long as he can, or, you know, as long as he likes. I wouldn't say my voice. Well, he's seen it. He's seen us doing it, you know, all the time. And it's the same as well with like training, or, you know, he's occasionally will pick up a weight and kind of go, is this right? Am I doing this right? It's starting to get into his mind of what he wants to do. And, you know, maybe it's something that he wants to look after, but you know yourself, I mean, these kids that you want to get them moving and you have to get them to burn off that energy some way, shape or form. So
it's like
a better way to do it.
Burning, the energy, and also just the feel good factor. You know, you can see mood change and everything as well with them. So one of the things I really love is that I don't have to think about what I have to do when I turn up to your classes. It's quite evident in your social media, you obviously go through what it is you want to give the classes, you know, as if it's a run through, you've tried and tested it beforehand. What's the method really for you? Not to give away all your secrets, but.
Well, I think the big thing, right? The big thing that we're concerned about at Bayburn is, like I said, it's functional. We're not in the position to, you know, do a standard sort of, you know, a standard gym-based or strength-based sort of program in that way. We want to keep your body moving, as we say, to be fit for purpose, for whatever that purpose is that you have in your life, to be as healthy, to move for your kids, to be able to lift your shopping, to be able to, you know, reach up and get that thing off the top shelf, whatever it is that you need to be able to do at that point. Anything. Yeah, 100%.
I am very heavy on this side though.
So the way that I look at it is that body moves in several different ways. We know we move up, down, we move left, right, we move in a squat position, a hinge position. Basically the big five throughout the course of your life are going to be push, pull, squat, hinge, and then a carry. You know, if you're carrying home those bags from House of Fraser because you did really well on the credit card, you have to be able to carry them. There's nobody else to do it for you.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got that, if, you know, we don't have the same sort of shopping bags anymore, but we used to carry them, you know, across our chest, and you have to close the car door with your bum. And I tell people that all the time. You know, that's a move you do naturally, but when you start thinking about it in the course of training, sometimes people forget and start to make it a little bit more difficult than they need to. So the way I look at it is we're trying to figure out how to strengthen those movements that we can keep repeating those for the long term.
Okay.
Because you're never going to stop doing them. Unless you end up, you know, somehow immobilized or unwell, you're always going to do those same things throughout the course of your life. And like I said, we don't want to be using something to support us in our long term. You know, we want to be able to go out and keep rocking, keep going through to the beach, keep running around, keep dancing, keep moving, keep, you know, whatever it is that gets you up and going. You want to be able to keep doing it as long as you possibly can. So got to put a little bit of effort in at the beginning to be able to keep doing it.
Yeah. And what would you say so with me, whether I'm teaching in art or in any sort of classes, whether that's informal or formal, like I always like to say, it's like a relaxed teaching style. I want people to let me lead them, and like also for freestyle if they want to. What type of teacher would you say you are? I could put a spin on that. I could ask some of the people that attend your classes, but what would you say your teaching style is?
I mean, that's a relatively unfair question, Ali. You would be much more positioned to answer that than I would.
Shout. I mean, you don't even really shout. You don't shout.
I don't shout. No, there's no shouting. It's,
No.
I mean, I think, I firmly believe that we can all do more than we think we can.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sometimes need somebody there to cheerlead you to say, right, give it a go, try it, because you can. I think I am firm but fair.
Mm-hmm.
I will never be mad at you, but I might occasionally be disappointed.
I was just going to say, my Michael always says, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, which is the worst. It's the crushing one, isn't it?
Well, I think that gets to people's sort of inner, you know, there's a sort of inner idea of what, you know, getting back to what you can and can't do. You know, you don't want to be less than what you think you can. It's not about what I think you can do. It ultimately comes down to yourself. It's what you think you can do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we can always do more. And I believe that, you know, sometimes you do just need a little bit of a push. And I want people to perform well. And I want them to be as capable as they can be. And I want them to do, you know, the big thing in our classes, and the big thing in my classes especially, is I want you to be able to do something better than you could do it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to be able to do it in a way that will keep you safe and uninjured for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying to you on Saturday, was that maybe that I sit-ups is something I never ever could do. I never felt like, and then after having the kids with, like, they were almost 10 pounds babies, they're big babies. And then I just, maybe it was a fear thing. I always felt I just worked in the corset, the kind of upper, like I didn't even know what I was doing, but now I can do sit-ups, which is exciting.
See, that's
quite quickly.
And that's quick and easy. And we got more to come. We can even get you doing more stuff down the line. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
But it's that idea that you have to do it. It's that one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And so if someone was to like come to you for personal training, do you attract a certain type of client, or are you just open to everybody? And it's like this idea of leading them so that they are using those, like bum closing a door, like people, like, so you're helping tell me about like a client's journey with you.
The first thing you got to find out is you got to find out where the client is at. Okay. So, you know, that's number one. That consultation is the most important thing. And to find out, and the thing that I would need as a trainer from a client is I need them to be as honest as they possibly can, not only with me, but with themselves.
Yeah.
Because we have to know where you are, where you're starting from. Is it much easier to train somebody with a little bit of experience? Yes, of course. 100% it is. Yep. But everybody has to start from somewhere. So I would generally bring a client in, we sit down, we have a little consultation, figure out how you're moving. There's an assessment just to see what that movement is. Mm-hmm. And then it's, what are your goals? You know, what do you want to accomplish? If you can set up a goal that you really want to accomplish in a specific time frame, and we can measure that out and figure out how we want to get to that place together, mm-hmm. then that's the number one thing. And there's nothing better than watching somebody smash their goals. I mean, even in classes where, you know, even in classes in a sort of group setting where, you know, they come to you afterwards, and it's generally that we sneaky pull you back to the side, you know, and say, you know, because they don't really want to brag. It's not necessarily a brag. It's almost sometimes people feel sort of embarrassed that they've made an accomplishment or done something for themselves. And you shouldn't, because that's exactly what it's for, you know, just to say, look at this, I can do this now, and I couldn't do it before. Mm-hmm. And that happens with everything. If you want to suddenly start to lift heavier weights, yes, there's a way to go about doing that. If you want to move better, there's a way of going about doing that. But it's so specific, that sort of one-to-one training. And I think that relationship develops over the course of time with the client. And that relationship is not just, showing up and training. There's other things to look at. There's worrying about your physical health, your mental health, your overall, to make sure that you are doing the best thing that you can for that time. A client's not just a client to, settle the bottom line or to touch the books.
Yeah.
Like I want people to feel better every day when they come to class and when they leave a class. And when I see them again, I want them to feel the same way, ready to go, ready to work, ready to make something happen that is going to be better for their long-term life.
Is there a difference in people from County Down going to classes and training army people? What would you say has shifted?
Again, I'm not sure. I might have to plead the fifth, as the Americans say, just because I would like to maintain some of my clients. I think I've never met some people who are willing to negotiate their training as much as I have over here. More often than not, you tell somebody what to do in the army and they would pretty much do it. But occasionally you get people who are just they're just over here. They're gonna fight you on it.
Argumentative. Do you miss army days?
Oh goodness, no.
Really?
No.
Did you know you wanted to leave? Like, was that really an obvious, was it like a time frame?
Well, I'm an army brat, as they say. So my dad was in the army growing up for 20 years. So I knew what I was getting into. And I did it for the purpose specifically of getting money to be able to go to school. I took that time to, get a chance to get out, to get away, to travel, to find myself a little bit, also to take some money back in to then go to school after I got out. So there was a plan behind it even then, to try and a lot of it was for betterment of myself, but also for a chance to, get to do some things that, most people don't get to do in life.
Definitely. Would you say that travel is something that, because I haven't been in a plane, it'll be, I'm sure I was telling you, but you didn't know that we can't go to the States, but you're a resident of the States, so that's why you can. But now the travel corridor has opened up again, or will be as of November. So it'll be 2 years since I've been in a plane. I don't know if there's ever in my life that has happened before. And I hate to sound like first world problems, but I really feel like I just need to be somewhere else. We moved house actually, and I think we moved to where we are now a year ago, and that happened within about a month. We decided on the 30th of May that we were maybe going to put it up for sale, and then it was sold within a month, and we were moved within 3.5 months. So that suited my brain. It helped me. It felt like I was traveling. Do you see travel as part of it's obviously the richness of your story as well, but for you, do you enjoy it? Is it something that because also with physical fitness, you can move anywhere, you can be anywhere, you can do it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a lot easier to travel when, you weren't lugging around another person with you.
True.
That definitely took a lot of stress out of it. But, I've been fortunate, I've got to live in many places in the US. I've lived in Japan, I've lived in Hawaii, I've lived in Germany, and got to travel all through Central and Western Europe. And, and then now living over here, I mean, it's easy enough to get on. Well, it used to be easy enough to get on a plane and get anywhere around here. And I think it is something that is good for the mind. It's good for the soul. I think it's good for just every part of you to be able to realize that whatever the bubble is that you think your life is, there's so much more outside of it. And we need to be looking at that entire sort of scope of our health across the sort of holistic well-being approach to your life is everything. Whatever those interests are, I can't wait to go back. I mean, even little trips, I've got a little trip booked to go see part of Ireland I've never been to, but we were supposed to go away last summer, and then obviously, like everybody else's, those things get changed. I was supposed to go see my sister back in the States in October, and flights were canceled, not by us, but by the airlines. So now I have to look back into that again. And I'm desperate to get out and see some other things, because I've never been someplace as small as this.
I know. And it is a bubble. Do you find that well-being, so I talk about people loving themselves from their brain to their bones. Do you have any kind of motto, tagline to live by? Well, you expressed how enthusiastic you are at what you do and how it's steeped in you in every part of you, but have you something that's like I
don't know. I mean, there was there's an American writer, Charles Bukowski, years ago, who wrote that line similar to, I don't want to go quietly to my grave. I want to ride in like kicking and screaming and, with the tires on fire type of thing. And
brilliant.
The way that I look at it is, I'm not talking about rock star life, no Keith Richards type of stuff here, but you get one shot. This chassis has got to get you from birth to death. So you might as well, look after it from top to bottom, inside out, and you might as well try and enjoy as much of it as you can and live this thing to the fullest in whatever way that is, whatever scope that is, whether it's, skydiving on your 30th birthday or, reading a book on a Saturday night, if that's what it is. It's just whatever is the best thing for yourself across the board. Things change obviously when you get older and sillier, but if you're happy and you're healthy and you're able, I mean, that's something to be cheered from the rafters about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. Where can people find you?
Oh dear. I can be found on Instagram, I guess, at BGPT_coaching. And then I can be found most mornings and evenings coaching, either at Bayburn Fitness in Helens Bay or Bangor. I'll be the loud one shouting at people.
Oh, except you don't shout.
No, sorry, don't shout. I encourage happily.
Yeah, there you go. It's very different. Well, thank you. And you've already shared there a little bit anyway, but have you one last thought you want to share with people? Because this series is obviously about from the inside out. And I think you're saying there about, breathing and having air in your lungs, like any of that is to be shouted from the rafters. And I do feel like that. And I do believe that people need just to be reminded of that. So thank you for sharing your side of it. Do you have anything you want to leave people with? Any last words?
Make it your purpose, not to be, standing on a high horse or anything, but everything we do has to have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And it should be 100% of your purpose all the time to try and make the most out of this. Brilliant. I believe it.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching, even though the sun is coming in my eyes now. And I meant to mention that I'm not dying. This is just a tracker. Although I meant to say, Bron, that I'm not really meant to sweat. That's why I had to fan myself entirely today.
I'm not going to say anything about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get in trouble as aiding and abetting some sort of crime.
Yeah, I definitely don't know. Well, they didn't tell me not to exercise, and I was very careful. So, but yes, this is just a tracker, and thank you for watching and listening. And I thank you very much, Bron, for joining. And we'll see you on the other side.